I'm going to go very quickly because Jenny asked me to. So I'm going to hit a few highlights. If you got a burning question, raise your hand, holler if I ain't looking, but be gentle. But anyhow, most of you know me again, Howard Callahan, Department of Ag's Nutrient Management Program. I'm where everybody in this region, when I say this region, Queen Anne's County, Caroline, Talbot, your annual reports are coming to currently. Again, just to reiterate that I shouldn't be telling you anything new, I don't think. It should be just refreshers to some degree. Again, there was some controversy a year or so ago about extension not writing plans. The key in all of this is the university's back writing plans. If you need a plan, go to university. They should be able to help you. End of story. Again, responsibilities for operators is to maintain a current and complete plan for your operation. You're required to implement the plan, keep records of what you're doing, file your annual reports, again, due March 1, which happens to be today. Got a few. And then again, keep a nutrient applicator voucher if you're required, and that's basically if you, the operator, are applying nutrients of any source in any fashion to 10 or more acres in the course of a year, you're required to have it. Key is sign the sheet in the back. Whether you don't have one, sign it, you'll get one. If you've already got one and you need to get credits, sign the sheet in the back. That's the key. You don't sign the sheet or someone can't interpret it, you won't get a credit. Again, nutrient applications to the land, some things we're going to talk about again. AIR submissions, again, for 2023, they were mailed in early February, which was late this year. Trust me, I've heard that a million times. Well, are you going to let me have an extension? No, they're due March 1. So again, some other things and then some regional office. There was some stuff changed a year ago. When I say a year ago, in January of 2023, dealing with a lot of soil amendments. This is nothing new. In other words, it's always been required if you're applying a soil amendment, as in what I say, something that's not manure or commercial fertilizer. So if you're putting on spent mushroom soil, you're putting on some other kind of products, compost materials, those products are required to be registered with the Maryland Department of Ag State Chemist and have a current registration. So again, as an operator that's using those, you're required to have that in your possession. So if you're getting those from someone, tell them you need that registration because we're going to be asking for it. Again, basically, again, if you import anything that's got primary nutrients such as food processing waste, spent mushroom soil, spray irrigation wastewater from a treatment plant, composted waste, all those, again, are required to have a registration. Again, does not include manure or chicken litter. That is not new. That's always been the case. It's just getting a little more focused than what it's been in the past. Again, we're going to ask you to have that. So if you're getting those products, ask your supplier for a copy of that because we're going to be looking for it. Again, I think we all know what a cover crop is by now, but this again was focused on some regulations last year about dealing with this food processing waste, which has caused a lot of controversy. We added a segment into our regulations that basically spelled out seasons of the year. We used to have spring, fall, and winter, and we added a summer. And that was nothing more to tighten up windows as to what your expectations would be if you're using some of these products, as when you can apply them, how you got to treat them, and when you got to plant a crop. Doesn't apply to bulk of you. Again, spring in our world is March 1, so today we'll say the gates open, you're legally allowed to be applying nutrients again. Because again, the winter we're required not to be doing that. So again, that's nothing new. Again, anything, the food waste basically had some new requirements. Again, it's not going to apply to bulk of you, but if you're dealing with food waste, it basically had to be injected into the soil or incorporated sooner, and that's all focused on odor control. So just be aware if you haven't heard of those things or if you're thinking about using them. Again, we just basically, it just talks about they have to be incorporated into the soil as soon as possible, but no later than the end of the day the application is made. Again, they're basically saying you want to inject them, but if you're not, then they just got to be incorporated very soon, and it's to help with odor. So just be aware of those things. Basically, in the summertime period, which was July 1 through September the 9th, it's kind of the same thing, but it just talks about a few more other things that, you can't do. Again, since it doesn't apply to most of you, I'm going to move on. Again, if you've got hay and pasture, you're probably exempt, but the bottom line is it's still focused on that incorporation in most cases. Emergencies. So again, we're in the fall period, which in our world is September the 10th through December the 15th. It basically says you can make a nutrient application during this season, for an existing crop. So if I got hay, I got pasture or something that I still need to fertilize, you can do that. Or a crop that you're going to plant. So if you're going to plant a crop in the fall, you certainly can put chemical fertilizer on. Poultry litter, in a sense, is kind of like the same as chemical fertilizer. If you're using something other than poultry litter, some fall applications can be made, but again, it's either got to be on an existing crop or you have to plant a crop either during the time period or basically by no later than the following spring, June 1. So you can actually apply spent mushroom soil, for an example, in December up through December the 15th for your corn crop that you're going to plant next year no later than June. It just says that you have to, if you're putting it on fallow land, you have to plant a cover crop as soon as possible after the application. But again, it's no later than November the 15th. So you're thinking, well, that's November the 15th, and that's December. So if you know you're going to apply something December 14th, you got to get your cover crop planted a month ahead of time. So you're going to be putting it on vegetative cover. So there are some allowances for, I'll say, a little bit of odd time for applications. But most time with manure, especially poultry litter, we're not going to allow that. It's going to be stored or stockpiled. Again, you can't apply when the soil's saturated. I'll use the word common sense. Which most of us have, but not everybody. Been my experience anyhow. So again, with the food processing weights, they got different requirements than most other products. Again, it's not going to apply to the bulk of you. The people that are using them know, I think, what the rules are. Generally, you're working through someone that's helping you with that. But again, if you're applying them in the fall, again, you got to directly inject or you got to incorporate by the end of the day. You got to get at least 95% soil coverage. And in this case, you have to plant a harvestable crop or a cover crop no later than 14 days after the application to the field is complete. So if you're putting it on September the 10th, by September the 24th, you got to have vegetation in that scenario with that product. And it's to deal with the odors. Because we're making you do thorough incorporation, trying to get some cover on the ground. Again, it doesn't apply to most of you. Again, temporary stockpiling, that's what most of you would be doing as far as chicken litter is concerned. Because basically in the winter, which is from December the 16th through the last day of February, which was yesterday, you're not allowed to be applying nutrients. It's only in an emergency situation where you've got an imminent overflow of on-farm generated sources. So if you got a dairy, you got a lagoon, you've run into a situation, something happened, and I'm going to have an overflow, then we going to work with you. But you need to let the department know. You need to reach out to your specialist before that, because technically you got to have permission. So we just need to be aware, understand, give you guidance. There's special guidance for that. In a nutshell, it says, if it's a stackable material, and in our world it's 75% moisture content or less, so something that's not really wet, you're required to stockpile it. You cannot get winter permission, or you will not get winter permission. Again, it's bare to liquid manures only. If it can't be stacked, you need to reach out to your specialist or to the main office to get permission. Again, it has more stringent application requirements. You got to have greater setbacks from surface water. You got to stay off certain slopes. You can't exceed more than 50 pounds of nitrogen per acre or 1 year's worth of crop phosphorus removal. So you'd have a tighter restriction, assuming we gave you permission in the winter, than you would if it was March 1. But again, all that will be spelled out with you, with your nutrient management consultant and our oversight. Again, if you got a need, ask. I've had a few this year that did ask, that did have a need, so it does happen. Again, we had some big rainfalls, and but the key in all of that is we're trying to determine what's the reasoning for that. And is there something from a management standpoint that we need to change, or is there such thing as we need to get more storage? And we got to work towards that so it's not an annual issue. Again, annual reports are due March 1. So again, today, they need to be filled out completely and signed. AIRs that are not submitted by March 1 are subject to further enforcement and penalties. Trust me, we're not going to fine you tomorrow, but there will come a point, probably about a month from now, that you'll get a notice if you haven't done it. If we think you need to do it, it's going to say the words, warning, you didn't file your annual report, we sent you, blah, blah, blah. It's going to give you an opportunity, probably a few weeks, to get it done. It will lead into monetary penalties if and when need be. That's just the way it's been. That's nothing new. Again, forms that are submitted incomplete may be subject to an implementation review, or if something puts you in non-compliance status. Again, if you need additional pages, fill them out. New a couple years ago was trying to get electronic implementation. We're probably about 50% people are doing them electronically. And it's through this Maryland one-stop portal, which is basically something that the state of Maryland created that you can go on to and do a lot of different things, a lot of applications. It's not just nutrient management. Again, once you get into that portal, you register yourself, you get registered one time, you're set up. Again, you would go in, and there was some directions and instructions on all of that on our website. It's also mailed to you in your packet with your annual report for the last couple years, including this year. So it's not that hard to do. It's not that complicated. It's a process. So again, once you get registered, you create passwords, you're in there. So once you get that done, you would basically go into that database, and it's going to open up something like this, and you're going to just put in there in this little search bar, you're going to type AIR nutrient management. You can also type AIR 2023. And you hit the little find thing, and boop, it's going to pop you up the form. And then that's where you're going to get started. So again, if you do it electronically, the operators will receive a confirmation email from the one-stop program just as soon as you send that AIR. So as soon as you hit submit, within seconds, you'll get an email that says you have successfully submitted your AIR. Doesn't say you're done, but at least says you know that the ball's now in my court. So again, the email will be sent to whatever address was registered with the one-stop. I run into that where husband and wife, or father and son, and the son did to set up the thing, and the father submits it, and he's like, well, I didn't get no email. Well, you didn't, because it went to your son. So just be aware of that. Again, once it's submitted electronically, it goes to your regional specialist based on the county that you picked in the thing. So if you picked that I'm Queen Anne's County, it's coming to me. I'm going to get an email. I get an email. I've been getting a lot of them that basically says you've submitted. Hopefully within a week or less, most cases, I'm going to get at least an opportunity to look at it and try to evaluate it. And it's either going to be one of two things. So again, once I receive it, I have to approve it. As soon as I approve it, which means it's satisfactory, at least good enough for me at this moment, you will receive another email that says the AIR is accepted and complete. In other words, we're done. So just getting submission is step number one, but until you get approval, you still haven't met all of my requirements. But it's a step in the process. So again, once you get that second email, I say keep that for your records. It's just proof. If someone ever says, well, you didn't submit it, you say, yeah, I got a proof right here. So again, you just save postage. Something that's been offered for the last few years and still is, operators that have a current certification or even an applicator voucher, which we talked about, will receive 2 continuing education credits for an on-time submittal of a complete AIR through One Stop. So if you submit it no later than today, you actually can get 2 hours of credits. But the key is that it's also got to get approved. Now, I ain't got to approve it by today, but if you send me one that we don't approve, we're not going to give you credits because we haven't met where we went. Bottom line, if you need help, reach out. We're here to help. Setbacks is nothing new. It's the same thing. It shows you what a setback is. Current plan cert forms is nothing new. We're probably in about the 3rd year of that. People should know what they are. As soon as you get your plan written, your consultant should be giving you this in all cases. That's something that you're going to use when you go apply for any cost share like cover crop or something through Max. This is your proof that you got a current plan without someone seeing the plan. So don't wait till the last minute to get it because you're in trouble. Get it now. Again, this is just all my coworkers, specialists throughout the state. There's 9 of us, and currently we're at full staff. Seems like we're always short somebody, but currently we're up to full speed. Our most recent hire is in Cecil and Kent counties, and Craig McSparron. If you from Kent County, you probably know Craig McSparron. He just started with us about a month ago, so he's still being trained, but he's focusing on that region. So currently with annual reports, if you submit them electronically, they're going to him and I. We both have access to them in that region. So either of us can approve them, but I'm trying to train him to approve them. Again, my contact information, if you're a CAFO, which most of you probably are not, and that's been a couple years now. We got 1 person in the state, which is in Salisbury. where the CAFO forms go to. So you may be working with a different specialist in some cases than what you're accustomed to, if that's the case. Again, most of us are working in what I call remotely at a minimum. We all are assigned to an office, but we don't go to the office every day. I'm technically assigned to the office in Salisbury. Probably don't go to Salisbury more than once a month or every couple of months a lot of times. Because again, we're living off cell phones, we're living off laptops. I generally work from home. They actually closed 3 offices a couple years ago. So if you see mine, it goes to a P.O. box, Cordova. I mean, unfortunately, and that's been since 2020. I still got people show up in Easton looking for me at the soil conservation where I was 4 years ago. They still want to take their annual reports there, you know. And again, they usually get to me, but just be cautious that, you know, I'm not there, haven't been there. But that's where we are. Anybody got any burning questions? Again, annual reports are due. Yeah, exactly. Today, I've gotten quite a few. I can't tell you exactly how many I've gotten because I don't know. But I can tell you today, looking at the electronic ones, I finally made it up to February the 28th. So if you submitted it sometime on the 28th, or yesterday, or today, I have not looked at it yet. And as this morning when I left a couple hours ago, I had 58 sitting in there that I hadn't touched. And paper, I've probably got 100 plus that I haven't touched. So again, it's a lot in a short period of time. You need help, reach out.